Aloha. I wanted to do a quick video in reference to protests and rioting. Having gone through the Occupy movement in late 2011 into 2012 in Oakland and San Francisco, I understand how this system is set up. There's a lot of different movie reels that are rolling. You have implants, you have police implants in there, in the actual marches, in the actual whole thing, the whole thing going on. You have people who are implanted just to like throw bricks and break stuff and make riots and burn stuff. You have media implants that are to tell a particular version of the story, and just the entire thing is a setup. It's a giant movie. The main premise is to make the community react and respond in some kind of way so that the storyline has some weight to it. It needs filler, and the filler needs to be, you are the Indians and they are the cowboys with the cameras. The cowboys, it's cowboys and Indians, and they're the good guys. Every move that gets made, it doesn't matter what it is, it gets flipped and told a particular way. The story will be told by these cameras. It will not be told the way it is on boots on the ground by the people actually coming out of the communities and out of the homes trying to make a change. If you are trying to make a change within a box of destructive intelligence, you will get only an amplification of that destructive intelligence. And the people who are caught up in the shallow version of what change really is and how big this storyline is, these are basically, this is how they see it. The so-called they see us as slaves, and they are our slave masters. And in order for them to make any kind of change or any kind of movement, we have to give them that power. And every time something happens like this, where it's a riot or a police shooting or whatever it is, that story will make the community as a whole, it doesn't matter what race you are or anything, there are the people who are so-called in charge, the so-called powers that be, and then there's the community. This is the power grid, the power structure that is designed to make stories, and they need actors, they need events, they need fire, they need bullets, they need stories from people. They build it all up. This is why you have false flags and hoaxes and all this stuff. This is a big ass movie, and the people, the actors on the scene, the actual people in the community are paying for it in blood. We're the ones who are actually falling in front of these cameras because these cameras are making this movie. And the real storylines that are going on that are killing the majority of people with the fiat currency system, with the military industrial complex, with the university system, and even the globe model. People are dying for lies. $10 billion a year going to NASA to lie to you. How much money going to CERN every year to do lies? These scientists are out there to create an idea that is not for you. All of this technology, all of this information, all of this education, everything was stolen. Everything. The patent offices were invented to steal. People who invent things are silenced. People who come up with ideas are silenced. And individuals like Obama received the Nobel Peace Prize 9 months after he was got in to be the president, while we were still in 2 wars. These are how these storylines are being played, and people, the only way it can still keep expanding on itself is because people keep believing in the system. People believe in this system. As long as you keep believing and needing, it's the codependency program. They are selling you a program. They are selling you a design. And the only way to get out of that enslavement is to understand how deep this program goes, how far it goes, and actually get into the space of being like, you know what, fuck this. We have to understand that we have to do this on our own. We have to understand that something needs to be done outside of this codependency program. And it means taking the chains off of everything, and not reacting and responding to the game that's being played that allows that power grid system to expand. Seeing the mainstream media and the alternative news media and even the majority of the conspiracy channels, the news channels, all of those are corrupted to tell a story to make you feel like a criminal, act like a criminal, and be seen as some kind of criminal, so they, the so-called they, can be the good guys. And every time they're gonna keep doing, they like some people were saying, like, these police shootings and these killings, they're not new. They're just being videotaped now. People are seeing it. There's more accountability now. So these individuals are going to keep doing this stuff on the streets. That's how they're programmed. But it's up to us to realize, that we do not have to react and respond in the way that has been designed for us to do that. See, when I was in the Occupy time frame in Oakland, before everything popped off in Occupy, everybody was still talking about, oh, what you doing? It ain't shit. You guys are talking. You gotta always have those haters in there. And I understand now too, because really, from another perspective, how the hell are you gonna occupy occupied land in Oakland? That's Ohlone land. That's native Ohlone land. How the hell are you going to occupy somebody else's land? So already you starting out on the wrong foot. So when I started to realize that within the Occupy movement, then that's when I realized I had to understand the deeper storyline and go further into seeing how big this story really is and what kind of change I'm really looking for or hoping for or wanting to see. But within that scene, you're still having people realize that things need to change. So everybody's learning and understanding various layers of the storyline. So what was happening in the Occupy, right before everything popped off all over the whole world, Occupy Oakland set up a whole little community on the city hall, having a garden, having a daycare, having food, feeding all the homeless around there, having a library, having a free energy power center, having where people were powering a power station on stationary bikes. People were putting up their tents everywhere. I mean, all this stuff was a little community, and it was running peacefully until the cops came in, until it was peaceful for too long. It was just way too peaceful. It was for 2 weeks it was going on. And then finally, it was just too obvious that this was working and this was like a good thing, that the mayor, Mayor Kwan, and the police had to make a move because it was just too obvious. So they surrounded everybody at night. They pulled in and did, this is unlawful. They put out this story saying that there were rats going around and it's a health violation, knowing that those rats were already there before then, and actually there were less of them because there were people there now, and the rats didn't want to be around there. So they just told the story backwards, and then they amplify it on the news. They tell one particular version to make you miss out on the whole thing. So just as easily as they want to tell you, riots on the streets and fire, they want to tell you that bullshit ass cops and robbers TV show version of the story. Meanwhile, stealing from stealing food off of your baby's plate, basically, when they put $6.5 trillion goes missing from the Pentagon, and however other many trillions of dollars go missing on September 10th, 2001, day before 9/11. So these storylines are ongoing, and they're extreme, and we don't really see the entire picture because we're so codependent on what the news says. We are locked into the technology, the social media, and then we get emotional. Oh, we gotta get out there and go, make ourselves be heard and, make some change out there. You got people who are just doing it because it's fun. You got people who are doing it because they're really engaged. You got people who are doing it because they want some change. Other people, you got various layers on their various journeys trying to understand themselves and ultimately getting locked up into the control grid as a whole. So back to Occupy Oakland. When they surrounded us, everything was peaceful, everything was cool. We were actually feeding the homeless people, and people were coming down and donating clothes and food. I remember, it was right around Thanksgiving time frame. People had food there, and everybody was a whole kitchen outside just set up by the people. And then meanwhile, you have actual cops. You can look at that story online too. Cops that were caught infiltrating that area, trying to scope out everything. Even in the last with Eric Gardner march, you had cops who got caught on the street marching and then pulled some guns on regular protesters. The violence is incited by the system itself. The people of the community are not inherently violent. The system is inherently violent. And if the system, the lackeys of the system, the cameras, can convince you that you are violent and trick you with their camera magic to trick you that you should act like they do, then that gives them the power to expand. And this goes all the way up to the so-called disclosure, the White House, the CIA, people who are telling you secret information and releasing information about aliens. All this shit is connected. People in different layers of the information stream think that they're different because they don't, affiliate with, the really ridiculous news. They're just on the outskirts of the so-called alternative news. No, you're in the same fucking program. That's the same information stream. It's designed to distract you as a whole. And the people, as long as you're distracted, see, there are people who are stuck in the system who are getting caught up in the wheels. So you got people caught up in the wheels and then caught up in the distraction. And all of it is a story to keep you from figuring out what's going on. This is no different than the globe model itself. These are just layers and layers and layers of separation. Just like the Mandela effect comes on, people start questioning their reality, whatever it is. And then you have CERN that slips in. So just as easily as they slip in violent perspectives, they slip in scientific perspectives. The globe model is a scientific version of what police plants are in actual protests or riots or anything. People are setting off riots and all that stuff. It's the same thing. Excuse me. In order to make the system look like the protagonist, they have to convince you and make you, trigger you to be the antagonist in whatever kind of way. Whether you're just ignorant or dumb or just like you're violent, you're whatever it is. Something's wrong with you, and they will never tell the story. Like they will excuse me. They will never tell the story of why she didn't put her hand over her heart. Like the essence of that, the spiritual space of that, the depths of that storyline will never be televised. Because the story that needs to be told in order to make this whole system the protagonist is the old American dream. Oh yeah, well you're just against America. Well, you ain't saying shit about her winning that gold. and all those gold medals. Like, this is a whole design. It's like, we'll take what we just squeeze everything out of you, and then if you step out of line one little smidge, then you're an enemy. In order to, this is the collective victimization program. It's a collective victimization program, and each individual acts it out, whether in their own family, whether in their own community, or whatever it is on a national scale. Like, how dare you? And now that there's social media going around, the social media is a new so-called voice that they can say, oh, social media is outraged. Social media is now, that's like a person now. Like, you trust a person, just like they would say the news instead of the news. Like, something, what's on the news? What's on the social media? Oh, there's outrage on the social media. What is the outrage? Oh, well, this athlete didn't put her hand over her heart during the national anthem. That's not outrage by everybody. That's a small amount of people who are so-called outraged. And meanwhile, the story gets told. And then you have the bad guys. And that's the whole main thing. As long as the bad guys get out there, then you subconsciously keep relying and following the story of the so-called good guys. And the bad guys in this story is just like in the Cowboys and Indians. The Cowboys were the ones who came and stole this land and started genocide and massacring all these people. But in all these Cowboys and Indian movies, who were the good guys? These cowboys. It's these pirates that are out there. These are pirates running this maritime admiralty law system backwards and upside down on land. Excuse me. Doing it with the fiat currency system. Raping people, psychologically destroying the entire human consciousness grid. Not completely, that's like dramatic really, but over time that's what's really happening, because individuals are not really allowed to experience their maximum potential. Getting so caught up in having to defend themselves, or having to not do something wrong, or having to not look a certain way, or having to be a part of what's popular, what's mainstream, what's this, what's that. Never being able to tap into their real themselves, because even their natural human resources are not even allowed. They're not available because of the way the system is itself. That's the system, the design of the system, all the politics, the fiat currency system, the military industrial complex, the prison industrial complex. It's designed to implode from the individual to the community to the culture to the entire earth plane. And as long as individuals and groups keep fighting within that system, nothing will ever change, and in fact the system will expand itself. This is why you have all these false flags and hoaxes, is because the people are actually too peaceful. The people are actually non-violent. So they need to make shit up in order to make people believe some shit, in order to make people buy into and so-called vote for whatever new expansion of the control grid gets put out there. That's why you got all this stuff talking about, and Alex Jones, the controlled opposition out there, talking about the Second Amendment, and Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton talking about the Second Amendment. It's because the guns are the last thing. Once they have an actual law to take the guns away, then they can send in whatever robots that they have to push the agenda even further for further control. And even that is a big ass storyline, because then you will have the individuals who are so-called working for them will eventually find their humanity and just be like, fuck this. We're not going to listen to you guys. You guys are just destroying that, because the truth will finally reveal itself. And this is what's happening right now with all this stuff, where they have to push all these riots and all this stuff out there. The truth will reveal itself. And the more information, through actual information, not this disinformation by all these Alex Jones and other people that are out there who are mixing truth with just bogus ass perspectives in order to tell a particular version of the story that just still exists within the story. This is why it keeps talking about all this Americana stuff. Like, we want to take our country back. We want to make it. They're talking about Trump. They're talking about that mentality. They're never talking about the Native Americans or the original peoples all over the world, the indigenous peoples. Never going into that storyline. Flicker rating your days every day. Never talking about this stuff. Anything that goes against the system will be removed or flipped upside down some kind of way. They come out with something so-called sustainable, or that will kind of take the legs out of the big companies that are a threat. Anything that's a threat to those big oil companies, the big oil, big pharma, big this, big that, then that will be systematically removed because they can't make money off of that. You know, all this, a lot of it, the majority boils down to money a lot of the times. So you have various layers of the storyline. You got the fiat currency, you got the spiritual program, you have the community cultural program, you have the indigenous people layers of perspectives. You have all these various perspectives that are existing all at the same time, and they all tell the same story. And in order to get people divided and conquered, people fall into one version of it and say, oh, this is what it is. And then a lot of the time, the biggest story that gets played is the individuals who are completely ill-informed, misinformed, uninformed, are just reacting emotionally and just going out there and playing the system for what it wants you to do. So back to the Occupy Oakland stuff, that's what happened in Occupy Oakland, is that once they surrounded us and you had these assholes start throwing water bottles and whatever they had into the police barricades, and then that just gave them, the police, because they were saying you need to vacate the area, you're a nuisance, or whatever the hell it is, whatever excuse, bureaucratic excuse they come up with. They give you this excuse, and then you're automatically, now they can fire upon you. So that's exactly what happened. So you have the plants who are in there, whether they're whatever kind of layer they're involved in, triggering a response in order to trigger the news story. That's what they need, the news story. So in order to trigger the response of to get the people out of there, they have to make it big in order to validate themselves, add credibility to what they did, and put it on the news. So, and people know this stuff, but I'm just emphasizing this because I watched this shit happen. Like, I was there. I was standing right next to one of the guys who got hit in the head by, he's another veteran who got hit in the head by a flashbang grenade or a tear gas canister. One of the heavy duty ones got hit in the head. It was a whole thing. But yeah, that was a really intense storyline to be like right in the middle of and see that happen. But now it was 5 years ago. So to see that, just that pattern being repeated over and over again on a bigger scale, because that was just like the test. That was the test format. They tested out on us in the Occupy so that they can see what they needed to do however many years later up until today in order to get the news media and get the people believing and acting a certain way. So what happened was they then said, okay, we're going to start firing. So they started throwing tear gas and flashbang grenades into the crowd. Just blatantly throwing the shit into the crowd all over the place. The people dispersed. Some people were standing there. These assholes actually threw a tear gas canister underneath a lady in a handicap. She was in a wheelchair sitting right in front of the barricades. When I went up to go get her, they threw a tear gas canister underneath her wheelchair. This is how separate these individuals are. These are the cops. A whole string of cops standing right there, no less than 20 feet away from this lady who, she was the only one who didn't move. And I was telling her, I was like, lady, you're going to have to move. This place is, they'll fuck you up. They don't care about you. And this is by she was the last one there. So I went back. I was like, look, this is, we're going to have to move you. You can't breathe right now. Like, are you okay? Like, she finally said, okay, let's move. While we're waiting there, these assholes threw a tear gas canister right underneath her wheelchair. This is how fucked up these people are. There is no humanity there. So after this happened, the people get all pumped up. Like, man, fuck this. These assholes, da da da. So we regroup, walk around the block, and come back and tell them we're not going to leave. You fucking assholes just destroyed our community. So we came back and then they hit us again, tear gas and flashbang. This happened 4 times in one night. And you can look online and see that camera footage and all that shit. 4 times we went around the corner and came back until everybody just kind of like dispersed. But the point was made. And what happened was that very next morning, you had people in Egypt holding up signs for Occupy Oakland in solidarity with Occupy Oakland. That very next morning, and this is exactly what that system wanted. It wanted it to get bigger, and they're studying us. We're study subjects. So yeah, you can see, oh yeah, we did it. We did some good thing because, you know, we made people aware of something and all that shit. You can say that shit from one level. On the other hand, that was just fighting within the system. That was just that was just an extension of the program, because we are asking slave owners to stop using slave tactics on slaves instead of breaking the chains off of us and stop being slaves, which will disassemble the enslavement program and open up the doors for us to experience our inherent power outside of a control grid. These people don't care about you. Trump and Hillary, people are still voting out there. That's why I got so pissed off with the Bernie stuff. These people are all buddies. They don't care about you. They don't give one shit about you. They want the Roman storyline to be played. They want this TV show to be getting played. And yes, there's a very definite so-called they out there. People say, oh, that's that new age response. Just like, don't say should and all that stuff. You don't say they. The they is us. They put that shit in movies. Who is the they? The they is us. Oh, fuck it is. There's a creative intelligence and a destructive intelligence. And the people who mean to kill and destroy you, the fuck that is, if they were to come into my family's house, they would get fucked up. So no, that they is not us. That they is the people who have separated themselves from the Most High. And then you have the people who are directly connected to nature, directly connected to their families and their communities and their people, directly connected to the truth. The storylines that exist outside of the manipulated storylines that add up to shit like this. People sleeping on the streets while the Roman gladiator program gets put off right down the street. Billions of dollars in Rio. People homeless and actually getting put out of their homes for this game to be played. People getting shot on the streets for this game to be played. And you get these adolescent ass kids. These are just kids. This is why everything is so PG-13. Every TV show you watch, all that shit says TV-14. These movies, PG-13. Even your action movies, rated R. Those are for 17-year-olds. You have an adolescent mentality. An adolescent community. This is the high school election. This is what this is. All of this. And it's so bad. It's so excuse me. It's so bad that they can convince people to actually think that they can vote for an individual like Trump and believe in this system. If you believe in this system, you are a slave. Bernie, Trump, Hillary, it don't fucking matter. If you believe in this system, you are an inherent slave. And you will have to adjust and accept whatever this program puts in front of you. Because you have given your choices away. You have given your willpower away. You have existed in that hope program that Obama keeps selling like he was selling in campaign Obama. Hope, 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 hope. Hope for me, I'll change something. 8 years go by, it just made the shit worse. Now you gotta hope for Hillary. Oh, now good thing things are changing. We're gonna have a woman up there. Then you got the so-called revolutionary people. We need to get Donald Trump. He's not part of the system. Things are changing. No, these motherfuckers are friends. This system is a slave program. It is the intelligent people who need to come together and start thinking outside of the box and start making actual moves for the human resource, the natural resources that we would need to take care of everybody, not just the few, everybody outside of the control grid. And then you have to have all the other people who are acting like these storylines don't exist to wake the hell up and start figuring out how they want to be a part of this change overall outside of the system. Then you got to have the people who are still trying to defend this system to wake the hell up and see how big this storyline is and see where they want to fit in. There's all these layers of growth that are happening, and this system itself is trying to make a move while the transition is happening in order to be the savior to set up that new program. This is what this whole New World Order stuff is going on, to hit that button right on the right time frame to make itself out to be the savior. And in order to do that, to make people believe it, they need to have something to save people from. So you are who they're saving you from. This is why they're promoting all this violence and riots and all this stuff, putting it on the news to make you think that you need a new world order savior so they can be your protector. This is what the government system is all along. People are watching this. They already understand. They already know this, but I just had to put it out there in a little format, a little put together, because I have an understanding of how this program works from having been in the military and having been in the Occupy and seen how the system actually comes down on individuals and how it works. I was in logistics, so I understand how things get moved around. I can see that stuff. Like you can see how like things are being played like however many weeks out. Like everything is planned out. And you have to see, like, okay, well, this is going to be here. This is moving here. This is moving here. So we have to move this here. You have to make the most of your time and energy. If you have soldiers who are working for you, you don't want them to, like, get hurt. You don't want them to be discouraged or get distracted or not have any food or water. Like, all this stuff, you have to take care of your people and get the job done at the same time. So there's a destructive intelligence that's working against the people that is moving around like that to do the opposite of that for us. And then you have the creative intelligence who's working inside the people, inside each individual, and inside the communities to help each other find themselves, find their own fire, to make better use of their own soul journey, and at least understand it. Because that, before we can even understand how to use our purpose, we have to understand that we have a purpose at all outside of the enslavement program. And this control grid is trying to make this move before the individuals realize that they have a meaning and a purpose individually and collectively. That's the only way this program can have relevance. And it goes all the way from your spirit, your religion, your the false religion, the control grid program, the counterbalance programs, all the way down to the education system and the way you perceive your reality as a whole. And that's the biggest thing to get over, is that we can't even understand that these people have been lying to us for so many years. It's because we don't realize who us is and what was before the Columbian era history. We don't know. If we don't understand who we were, we'll never understand who we are and who we're going to be. You have no roots, no foundations. This program is designed to take your power away, making men into women and women into men on every layer. Just calling it fashion, calling it hip, calling it cool, calling it trendy, calling it whatever it is. And they use these demigods who they've signed in a contract, just like in the military. They sign a contract to be famous. They sign a contract to make your kids dress a certain way, think a certain way, act a certain way, call themselves a certain thing, to relate a certain kind of way to their experience. They sign a contract to get millions of dollars to convince your children to act. This is why I come down so hard on all these celebrities, because these are these false idols who are out there for your fucking kids. They are after your kids. This is why we don't realize how deep this program goes. I don't give a fuck about the adults who are out there who are just making their decisions on their own. These are for these kids. These kids are thinking this shit is normal. And then when I tell shit to the adults, they get all defensive and in their ego programs, because they think I don't give a fuck about you. You are a grown ass person. You are making decisions for yourself. This is for your kids. All these videos I'm making right now, every single damn last one of them, I don't give one shit about anybody who is an adult or whatever. You are going to make your own decisions. You are going to choose your reality however you see fit. People are going to either listen and like it or fucking hate it and not listen at all. I don't care about that. The point being is that this information exists out there, so these kids don't fall into this program and make the same mistake these assholes around here are making people make, and the same mistakes that I made, and the same mistakes that the friends around me made, and all these mistakes that individuals have made. The only reason people keep repeating that pattern is because people don't know that that's happening, and people's egos just allow that shit to just be. These kids are believing in this program because of the Disney program, because of these cartoons and these documentaries and dinosaurs and the evolution theory and the Big Bang Theory and Discovery Channel and National Geographic, and their education system, the public education system got people by the balls. The university systems got the adults by the balls. We can't even understand like anything outside of that, because that is how we experience our reality. We are only scientism based. Scientism is a religion. They want you to think that it's only about Christianity and Catholicism that's got a grip on the whole world, and the Muslim terrorists. This is why they want you to say Islamic terrorism and all this other stuff, to ball all this stuff up into a storyline. They make these stories for people to believe in. It's not the truth. It's a cowboys and Indians story. It is not your story. These kids are believing in this system. These kids, they're wanting. One of the main things I wanted as a kid was a big globe. I wanted a globe with a light in it. That's what I wanted. One of the brown, like the tan colored globes. Like that was one of my main things that I wanted. I never got one. Good thing. But good for me. But like this is how deep this program goes. We are separated from our true essence, our true understandings of who and what we are, so that we may enslave ourselves to exist on a low energy, low vibration space, to be uprooted from ultimately the Most High, and ultimately your soul journey experience, your purpose and your meaning. The television is designed to disassemble all of your roots, all of your connections. And like I said, even I'm going to stop engaging on the comments, and if I haven't responded on comments to you, I'm sorry. It's just getting like it's just tiring at times, because I don't really want to engage in it. I appreciate people who are sending support, and thank you, and liking the videos. And sharing the videos. I really appreciate that, because I don't have an ability like on social media. I've like chosen not to be on Facebook because of what it does to me individually on vibration, what it does to people. And I know that algorithm. I've already been a part of that algorithm to see how it works. So I'd rather not. So people who are sharing in whatever kind of format, I appreciate that. But yeah, this is an individual process, and people are going to have to do everything on one level. You're going to have to do this shit on your own. Nobody else can tell you who you are or what you are. You have to find that shit out for your own. You have to understand that everything that you've been told has been a fucking lie. You have to figure it out for yourself. And if you don't want to do it for yourself, do it for your kids. And if you don't have kids, do it for your little cousins or your little nieces and nephews, or your little goddaughters and godsons. Do it for the next generations, because nobody else is doing it for them. If nobody was doing it for us. This is why it's so damn difficult today to get people to even look at information. Obvious information. Like we are in the transition phase. We are the transition people. We are the bridges from the illusion to people really understanding something that is rooted deeply in their actual spirit, their actual meaning and purpose here. Some actual shift, some actual changing. And the system as a whole is expanding. Just as much as this is a transition for us, this is a transition for that control grid. And in that transition phase, there's vulnerability. This is why the so-called they are making their moves like that. But they are also vulnerable in that this information is available to people to realize and expand who and what they are. And as long as we get like caught up in that program of just being quiet or being whatever it is, then we won't see what we can actually do for the generations that are coming up behind us. Those are the innocent ones. I understand if you're going to work and you got to send your kids to school, don't feel bad about that, dude. Yeah, I don't want anybody to feel bad about that. What I'm saying is that at least teach your kids eventually, or at some point teach them how this system works and what's really going on. Utilize that space for what it is, but don't ever get caught up in that shit. Don't ever get caught up in that reality. That's just some ridiculous programming that's going on. I would rather, kids not be a part of that. But we have these, like I said earlier, there's all these different layers that are being shifted right now, and some people can't do that. Our natural resources, our human resources are interwoven into the system itself. So we got to do what we got to do. But while you're doing what you got to do, you can also expand yourself and make your connections with who and what you really are. And if not for yourself, at least do it for your kids. Do it for the next generations. Because this program of enslavement, this psychological conditioning program that's being manipulated by the so-called powers that be, who have been out there running this program, who have been making these magic spells for so long, making you hate yourself, making you divide and separate yourself, calling you certain things, making you think that you're just a color or a name of a continent or some shit like that. That's a living dead program. Zombies are just getting controlled by whatever kind of little electrical signals that are getting pumped out by that television and social media. Somebody put something out on Twitter. 10,000 people meet up here and let's go protest. And all they do, you think you're going out there to protest. But when you get people, that's power, that's energy. So the power grid, the mainstream media just said they need to just send five or 10 people out there to go throw some bottles or get some Molotov cocktails and then make that protest into a fucking riot. It's just that easy. They're playing the numbers here. Like how can we make moves based upon, what we trigger up? That's what that storyline is doing with the news, social media, and all this other stuff. It's a manipulation program. And as long as you keep getting reactionary and emotional, that allows that program to expand. We are not what they are telling us. We are not what this program, just as much as you are not a slave, you are not this ignorant, violent creature, these thugs that they say. Even Obama referenced it when he used that word. I wanted to break that fucking TV when I heard him say that. We can't just have thugs running around, rioting and creating all kinds of shit. I think it was during Baltimore. That shit really pissed me off. But that just proves, at the same time, it just proves to you they don't get this. There's nobody out there that's going to try to help you. None of that shit. It's only you, your family, your culture, your people around you who are suffering from the same bullshit that's been going on for years. Outside of this system, it's the only way it's going to change. Because you're animals to them. You're a fucking movie. You're an actor in a TV show. It's literally this, what's that Jim Carrey movie? You know what I'm talking about. I can't even think right now because this image just made me pissed off. But this is literally what it is. This is a show. It's a television show. We're suffocating, we're bleeding out, drowning, whatever kind of way. And these cameras are there to tell a particular story and profit off of your death your kids' sickness and disease. Ongoing. Forever. This is what this program is based upon. So rioting and protesting, that's not going to do anything about it. It's only going to make it worse. The only way that you can actually make some real change is to do the things that have never been done before. Do the things that Martin Luther King wasn't doing and Malcolm X was talking about but couldn't do. Like, this is like, once they get to these certain time frames, once you start triggering, this is why, like, Martin Luther King started talking about, take your money out of the system. That's one version. Malcolm X was talking about, like, no, you got to do all this shit on your own. These are your people. This is your shit. Once that power grid starts to get too obvious, then they'll take it out. So this is a new time frame where, since you have this connection of social media and all this other stuff, it's only being utilized for the expansion of itself. Expansion of the control grid itself. Use this information for what it is while we have it available. But make it work for a support grid outside of the system, outside of every kind of codependent program with the enslavement program. It's the only way we'll be able to address the stories of the Native Americans, the indigenous people all over the world. There can't be any separation. You can't get caught up in this whole, like, buy black. These are just steps towards something that's bigger. The economy itself, that's an enslavement program in itself. So if you're going to base your entire change on the economy, then that's going to be a mistake. You're already starting off on crutches. We can't start off on crutches. We got to take these Jordans off. We got to put our feet in the dirt, reconnect with our roots, reconnect with our spirit, and see what kind of stuff we really need to do. We need to get back into this natural law. Get connected, reconnected with nature. Because this is what the system has disconnected itself from in order to create a movie and allow these individuals to be calling themselves kings and queens and presidents and prime ministers and generals and all this shit. So that's basically all I had for this video. I just wanted to address the riots and stuff and all this pattern that keeps getting repeated, and share my perspective on it. So thank you for joining me, and until next time, from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.